Indigenous tribes around the world have protected their lands for centuries. These lands are sacred, holding deep cultural and spiritual importance. The connection between indigenous peoples and their lands goes beyond mere ownership. It is a relationship built on respect, care, and stewardship. The lands serve as a reminder of their ancestors, traditions, and ways of life. The protection of these lands by indigenous tribes has ensured the preservation of biodiversity and ecosystems. Indigenous practices have maintained the balance of nature, preventing overexploitation and degradation. This is vital for the health of our planet. As the modern world faces environmental crises, the wisdom of indigenous land management offers valuable lessons. Understanding the importance of these lands requires recognizing their unique cultural narratives. Each tribe has its own stories, practices, and sacred sites. These contribute to the rich tapestry of human heritage. The preservation of indigenous lands is not just about conservation, it is about honoring and sustaining these cultural legacies. To appreciate the significance of indigenous protected lands, we must delve into the cultural, environmental, and practical aspects. This essay seeks to explore these dimensions, showcasing the invaluable contributions of indigenous tribes to our world. The cultural significance of indigenous protected lands cannot be overstated. These lands are intertwined with the identity and spirituality of indigenous peoples. They are spaces where rituals are performed, oral histories are shared, and traditional practices are upheld. The land is more than a physical space. It is a living entity that holds the memories and spirits of ancestors. Sacred sites within these lands often serve as focal points for cultural activities. For example, many tribes have specific mountains, forests, or rivers that are considered holy. These sites are treated with utmost respect and are often the venues for ceremonies and festivals. The cultural practices tied to these sacred sites help maintain the social fabric and continuity of indigenous communities. Language is another crucial aspect of cultural significance. Many indigenous languages have words and concepts that are specific to their lands and ecosystems. These linguistic ties highlight the deep connection between the people and their environment. Protecting the land also means preserving the languages and the knowledge embedded within them. The cultural heritage encapsulated in these lands is irreplaceable. It represents a way of life that has been passed down through generations. By protecting these lands, indigenous tribes ensure that their cultural identity remains intact and vibrant. The environmental benefits of lands protected by indigenous tribes are immense. Traditional ecological knowledge, honed over millennia, plays a crucial role in maintaining biodiversity. Indigenous land management practices, such as controlled burns and crop rotation, help sustain healthy ecosystems. These methods are often more sustainable than modern agricultural practices. Indigenous tribes often view themselves as stewards of the land, responsible for its health and balance. This stewardship is evident in the way they manage natural resources. For example, many tribes practice sustainable hunting and fishing, ensuring that animal populations remain stable. They also cultivate a diverse array of plants, which supports robust ecosystems. Traditional knowledge extends to medicinal plants and healing practices. Indigenous tribes have a deep understanding of the flora and fauna within their territories. This knowledge is invaluable for modern medicine and conservation efforts. Many pharmaceutical drugs are derived from plants that indigenous peoples have used for centuries. The environmental stewardship exhibited by indigenous tribes offers a model for sustainable living. By learning from their practices, we can develop more effective conservation strategies and mitigate the impacts of climate change. Section 4. Examples of tribes and their protected lands. Several indigenous tribes have made remarkable efforts to protect their lands. The Maasai tribe in Kenya and Tanzania is known for their pastoralist way of life. They have safeguarded vast grasslands which support diverse wildlife. In North America, the Blackfeet Nation has protected the Badger II medicine area in Montana. The Kayapo tribe in the Brazilian Amazon has successfully protected large swathes of rainforest. The Ainu people of Japan have also made significant strides in land preservation. Section 5. Importance of preserving these lands for future generations. Preserving lands protected by indigenous tribes is crucial for future generations. These lands are reservoirs of biodiversity, cultural heritage, and traditional knowledge. They offer solutions to many of the environmental challenges we face today. Protecting these lands ensures that the wisdom of indigenous peoples is not lost. Future generations can learn from the sustainable practices of indigenous tribes. These practices provide a blueprint for living in harmony with nature. As the effects of climate change become more pronounced, the need for sustainable land management becomes increasingly urgent. Indigenous knowledge can guide us towards more resilient and adaptive strategies. The cultural heritage embedded in these lands is invaluable. It offers insights into human history, spirituality, and social organization. By preserving these lands, we honor the legacy of indigenous peoples and ensure that their stories and traditions continue to inspire us. In conclusion, the protection of lands by indigenous tribes is a matter of global importance. It is about safeguarding the environment, preserving cultural heritage, and learning from traditional knowledge. By supporting indigenous land rights and conservation efforts, we contribute to a more sustainable and equitable future for all.